Hello everybody and welcome to the very latest CADS podcast. We're here with the boys and there's smiles on pretty much everybody's faces this evening, and there's probably a really good reason for that, and I think that reason is 2 wins on the trot, new players being signed, and everybody feeling absolutely hunky-dory. So let's go through everybody. Hello Ashley, how you doing? Okay, gents, we're probably going to have to start that again because nobody heard anything you just said. So for those of you that are watching but heard absolutely nothing, let's get started again. Welcome to the podcast. And 3, 2... There we go. We're actually starting this time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest CADS podcast. I hope you can hear me now. You might be able to hear them in a minute. But we got some fine gentlemen here today. 5 of us tonight. Full house, I think you'd say. And 5 happy, lovely, smiley faces. I think we must have done something right. Something must have gone right in the world of Tottenham Hotspur. We are here to discuss it. Wins, signings, academy players, everything. It's all going to happen tonight. And hopefully there may even be a live confirmation of a brand new Tottenham Hotspur transfer right on this very show. So let's go through everybody and say hello. Ash, how you doing?
Thanks, guys. Good to see you. Just a big smile, just big ups for our often-time captain when Sonny goes off, Ben Davies, for, I think, leading by example and leading that very workmanlike, solid performance yesterday with very minimal mistakes.
Yeah, I think I called him 6 out of 10 Ben last week, and I think that was probably harsh. I wasn't feeling in a great mood, but he was a good 9 out of 10 Ben this week because he was excellent. He was superb. Okay, David, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks very much. Really enjoyed the match yesterday. I also thought Ben did a great job leading the defence, and I really enjoyed watching him. When we're setting up to defend a free kick in our half, seeing him doing this. He's always seems to be like worried about whether his hair's like he's more into his hair than Charlie. So anyway,
not true,
that was great.
Not true at all.
Great match.
Charlie, I'm not sure that's a claim you want to go to, but hey, Charlie, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I hope you're enjoying the dramatic lighting right now. It certainly looks dramatic to me.
We have got some mood lighting going on over there.
Yeah. I'm good. Yeah, it's good to be here. It's good to only, I think I'm not quite sure what the net injuries were at Tottenham this week, but it feels like it was at least 0. And only 1 long term, 4 or 5 months out for Dragusin. So, that's probably a good week on the injury front for us. And yeah, today was kind of crazy, sort of coming out of work and turning on the turning on Sky Sports and seeing the typical deluge of random players potentially signing for us. Gay, I'm sure we'll go through all these, but like, what a ridiculous thing to see. But it's obviously got knock-on implications for a lot of the conversations we'll have, so I'll leave it to that. Yeah. But good to be here, boys.
All right, and last but of course certainly not least, it's the youngest member of our group. Austin, how you doing?
I was all right until that. No, I'm good. I've actually managed to watch 2 games in succession, and I've been absolutely delighted with the performances. I did a little thing on CADS this afternoon where I listed something like 14 young players, all under the age of, I think, 23. And I was thinking, if they grow up together, we are going to have a hell of a team in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It's quite exciting.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I actually put a little table up on on CADS this week, showing the breakdown of our squad, both in the league and in the Europa. Obviously, in the Europa, it's a little bit of looking ahead to what might happen because we still don't know. But I think the league's basically done, regardless of whoever comes in. We've got spaces in the squad to bring people in. I've also put it up on Blue Sky if anybody's interested. If you haven't seen it and you want to, just contact me on there, and I'm sure I can send it through to you. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. Do we want to start with Brentford and go back in time to finish off with Elfsborg? Does that sound good?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey,
So
Stu, just before we move on, Stu, talking about dramatic sort of backgrounds and things like that. Are you downstairs at Joseph Fritzl's house, or?
I thought I'd try something different. I thought I'd go for like a little bit of mood
Okay.
lighting, like
It's
like
very,
Charlie.
wow, worrying.
Well,
Looks
honestly,
like the
with the
place where-
mood of Spurs recently, I thought it would be sensible to go for something that would work. But then everything's cheered up and brightened up, and I was like, well, I haven't got time to create a new backdrop for this week. So next time, maybe, if we win on Thursday against Liverpool, there will be something bright and colourful, all the colours of the rainbow, so to speak. All right. Okay, so let's talk Brentford. I will quickly get my thoughts out of the way, and then you can tell me what you think, and just shout out whatever you want. I thought we were really solid, which is kind of unusual for a Tottenham Hotspur team. I put it right at the end of the match. I did not try and jinx us throughout the game, but I asked the question: when did we become resolute in the air? Because I don't think we let them win a header in our box pretty much the entire game. We were just dominant throughout much of that match. They didn't really create many chances. There were a couple, of course. But there was nothing that really scared me. There was nothing that made me worry, oh, yeah, okay, that really could have gone the other way and we'd have been in trouble. I thought it was a really professional, really resolute performance. And I think we saw energy levels from the players that we have not seen in quite some time. And it was really, really good to see. Perhaps the senior players have profited from being rested for 45 minutes against Elfsborg. So those are my thoughts. Who wants to go next?
Did anyone listen to the match review after the game? Because there were interviews with Sebastian Besson and not Frankie Gray, Archie Gray. That dates me.
Yves Bissouma. Do you mean Yves Bissouma as well?
Sorry?
Who was the first one?
Seb Basson. That left us to play for Ipswich, if I remember. We bought him from Newcastle.
Norwich, wasn't it? Norwich.
Okay.
It was in Norwich. Well,
yeah.
He was really complimentary and very intelligent in his presentation. But Archie Gray was really complimentary about Ashley's favourite player, Mr. Davies, and said that he kept him on the straight and narrow for the whole game. And I commented in the match thread, I don't think I've seen as many defensive headers won for Spurs in the entirety of the 60 years I've been supporting the club. I thought we were absolutely immense. Going on from what you were just saying just now, Stuart.
Yeah, there were lots of decent headers and one which almost knocked a player out. I mean, Richarlison almost looked like he was spark out on the floor after putting his head in the way of one of them. Charlie, what were your thoughts on the game?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's the first time that that we've put in a performance like that defensively. I think that the Liverpool game reminded me a lot of that actually as well. The one that we won at home about a month ago. I just remember one particular header where Bissouma just ran, from the 18-yard box all the way through the 6-yard box to head the ball backwards outside the 18-yard box where he came from, and it was just the athleticism to do that. I think I feel like we get a tough rap defensively from a lot of pundits and fans of our own as well, Ange. And I think that I think a lot of it's been unjust, but we seemed incredibly tight defensively today, even though we didn't have lion's share of the ball. It seems like the tactics everyone's been crying out for were there to be seen, and I don't really, I, I, I don't know whether Ange has implemented new tactics. It just seemed to me that the players' instincts sort of came to the fore, and they just put in a really good rearguard performance that day. And so yeah, so I thought it was a great performance. Jed Spence, got to give it to Jed Spence. He's just looking very, very, very good. I don't know what to say about Jed. I mean, obviously people have asked the question whether Ange was right or wrong to leave him out. I just think that there comes a time when any player hits the sweet spot, and it's and they start to really show their pedigree. So yeah, I thought he played great, and obviously Archie Gray. I never see him play, so I guess he's playing really, really well. If he's playing in defence, the less you see of the player, then the better. So I thought it was fantastic.
We're definitely going to be talking about Jed Spence. I mean, just looking at the name of this podcast, we're calling it the Djedemption. So we're going to be having a little bit of a word about him, certainly. David, what were your thoughts on the game?
Only positive thoughts, really. There's so much to be positive about from that game. I think probably the thing that I really sticks out for me is what Charlie just touched upon, which is we have changed the way we're playing. We're playing deeper. We're not trying to be 90 minutes front foot anymore because we can't, because we don't have enough players. We don't have people to come off the bench. And I'm very happy to see Ange modifying the way we're playing to fit the players we've got at the moment. And that's got to be good news for the future, because if we can be a bit more adaptable, then we can hopefully get some more wins on the board. Apart from that, the few players that I thought have been quite out of form lately did pretty well. I thought Sarr was decent, but not just for the goal, but overall he was better than he's been, because he's been very poor the last few games. But I think he'd been injured, so that was better. I thought Bentancur was very good. I'm trying to pick the ones that not everyone's going to talk about, but there wasn't really a bad performance on the pitch at all, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the match a lot. I had quite a few beers, mind you, so.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Down the pub with Paul, were we?
Exactly. Yeah. Down the pub.
Oh dear. Ashley, how you doing? How was your regarding of the film of the match?
I think somebody mentioned they had, even Thomas Frank said they had over 20 crosses into the box, maybe 23, which is just a huge amount. And you're totally right. The heading was, where did this come from? All the things everyone has said has been spot on. I kind of one mention of somebody who wasn't there, and we seemed to be a little bit more solid without him, and that's Djedemption.
Okay, now I know who you're talking about. I thought this was going to go down the Van de Ven route, but now it's Djedemption, definitely. All right.
And Archie was playing in his position, and solid Ben was there. I just, once again, kudos to Ben for just leading by example. Somehow we seemed, I don't know how, cut out all those mistakes. And one of those games recently, Djedemption was at fault for two of the goals. Was partly at fault for two of the goals. Well, one of them directly because he lost his man on that header. So I don't know if he's actually come to terms. Well, it doesn't really matter right now. Come to terms with the Premier League yet, but we seem to be a little bit more solid with two guys who are not really centre backs there, and then Jed definitely, and Porro maybe because he got 45 minutes off here or there, seemed to be a little bit more. Right, maybe tactically he was telling them to hold back a bit. I wonder if part of it is just enforced, like we were dilly-dallying with that relegation zone, and maybe it was just like, well, we just got to get points in this game, so we have to enforce tactics, perhaps. I don't know.
Ash, I think you're quite right. I think it's, if everyone looking at the game, everyone looking at these games looks at it and goes, there's no way we can play Ange ball with such thin resources. We're playing twice a week. Turnarounds are really, really fast. You can just see that the players are tired, and I think that it's when you're tired, I think it's probably much easier to put in a performance at the back like that where it's just dogged determination, and just you're under siege and you just have that second wind like a boxer would in round 9. I just feel like I wouldn't say it's like necessarily tactical for Mange, although he may have said some things to that effect. Um, but it's definitely a product of the exhaustion that you can clearly see on some of these players and some of these players demeanor.
Yeah, I think
And
Porro's been asked to not run forward quite so much. He certainly seemed to be holding back a little bit. He didn't seem to be pushing on as much as we've seen him in the past. He did have one wild shot, but seeing as he's scored from those wild shots in the past, you've got to let him have the occasional one, I think. So I thought it was a tactically good performance, but this is not the first time we've seen. Blimey, what are you swigging? That better be water, because if you're drinking vodka like that, there's going to be problems later on. All right. Yeah, we've seen Ange doing this over the last month or so. He's been dropping the players a bit deeper. We've got something like the 7th highest line in the league now. It used to be the highest by quite some distance, but we've had to drop it because we don't have the players to rotate at the back. We don't have the energy levels to maintain that kind of high line and rest players when they need to be rested. It's just not possible for us. But it's really worked. Certainly the last game's really worked. Obviously Everton and Leicester it did not, but those are in the past now. We're moving on.
But if you go back to Leicester, that's just not. He didn't do that. He didn't. Well, he or the players, collectively, they didn't do that against Leicester. They came out against Leicester and just left massive holes all over the pitch. They didn't drop deep. They came. I mean, I remember for the second goal, Sarr was way out over on the right wing trying to win a ball with nobody behind him. So when he missed it, it was a sure goal. We didn't do that yesterday. We were much more disciplined, and although I really want to see Ange ball when we can play it, when we can't, then it's good to see that we're adapting now, and it's important.
In terms of Sarr, I mean, Sarr apparently was not fit to play the game against Leicester, but he, it was kind of needs must, and Ange talked to him and Sarr said, yeah, I can do it, I'll be fine. But he just wasn't. He was not ready to play. He just wasn't in a position to play that game, I think, and it put us under pressure. I mean, we got better when he went off. But yeah, talking of players that went off, let's discuss it. Dragusin. Dragusin's had an up and down season. He started out as backup, then was forced in. He struggled right at the start when he first came in. He then seemed to pick up and had a few really good games where he looked very solid. And since then, there's been a regression. So whether that's a regression to the mean, I do not know. But frankly, we've looked better without him in the time since he's gone off injured. Well, the time when he wasn't on the pitch against Elfsborg, when he got injured after, the 20 minutes he was on the pitch was our worst 20 minutes of the game against Elfsborg, I thought. We just did not look as confident. And then they needed to change things around. They dropped Gray into his position. And I think his ability to just move the ball around confidently makes a massive difference. Because you've got someone at the back who's indecisive. And I think that is Dragusin's biggest problem. He's just so indecisive. It just spreads throughout the rest of the team. And that's what happened. And then you bring back Gray, who has a clear idea of what he's doing, is a little bit more decisive, is a little bit more forward thinking, and boom, we've got 3 points. 3 points in the league system, 3 goals, and everything's looking a lot more hunky dory.
If you look at the second goal yesterday, in the build up, it's Archie Gray that has the ball in our. I think just inside our penalty area, and he has to do quite a lot of hard work to play his way out from defence, and he goes up the right wing and then passes in field, and then it goes over to Sonny, who passes it for Sarr. But that attack would not have developed with Dragusin on the field. We would not have been able to play out like that with Dragusin. And it's crazy to say it, but I actually think Archie Gray is actually better than Dragusin as a central defender. He might not be as imposing or as big, but he just seems to have more about him in terms of awareness about what's going on, and helping us play out and things like that. I think Dragons is great for getting his bonce in the way of a ball, in which case I don't know why we let Eric Dyer go. I don't think he's much of an upgrade on Eric Dyer, to be honest.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the question marks over our set pieces have definitely disappeared in since he's been playing. I can't remember last time we had our set piece, you know, our set piece sort of tactics questioned. I mean, they've switched to different, you know, things that people are questioning to you know, to sort of bring pressure down on Ange. So I think that Dragusin definitely does have his perks. I just wonder why he was even bought in the first place if you know, if these are the issues that we have with him, because in that sense he wouldn't be an Ange signing. He would have been again one of these sort of club signings, if you like, that you know, Levy likes to bring in. And so it never seemed like, you know, Ange really wanted to play him at the start. He never rotated it. Van de Ven or Romero out, you know, when he first bought Dragusin. In fact, it took him, you know, probably till October or November this year to get a string of games in. So I just wonder again, like, was it a club signing? Why did we buy him if he wasn't, you know, good with his feet or decisive like that? Certainly doesn't seem like an Ange sort of signing.
Ange does say that he has the final say on every signing that we make, though.
Well, I think as a front man of the club, he kind of has to say that. You know, final say. Do we really think that that's true? I mean, Jed Spence, you know, when when Conte was in, Jed Spence, you know, was brought in, and you know, Levy spent literally his whole summer trying to bring Jed Spence in. Yeah, it was just I asked the question, but it's probably in light of to what's going on today as well, trying to bring in centre back after centre back after centre back. I do wonder what the long-term plan is for. You know, I think it's great that is happening because number one, because it does look like we are backing Ange. Number two, it certainly seems to be kind of damning for the setup we have already, given that Vuskovic will be coming in as well in the summer. How many centre backs do we actually need? Is the question.
Yeah, especially Cootie.
Yeah,
Cootie leaving as well, especially if he's leaving. But Charlie, the Arsenal game, corners, Dragusin lost Saliba on that, and he scored. I think it was the winner. It would turn out to be the winner. Just totally lost him. So you know that was on a set piece. So that wasn't that many games ago. So yeah, I think overall we have, but he's been at fault a little bit there.
That was from the corner that really wasn't a corner, though, wasn't it? I think they were still arguing the toss over whether or not it should have been a corner, and they just lost concentration. I mean, if you want to talk about when our last set pieces, well, when defending set pieces were a problem, you don't have to go too far back to Tamworth and their long throw, frankly. I still think it's got better.
Mate, we smashed them 3-0. What are you talking about?
In extra time. Yeah. Okay, so is there anything else that anybody wants to bring up from the Brentford game before we move on to Elfsborg?
Yeah, what about Kinski? I just want to, what do we think? He's played a few games now. What do we think about him? Is he going to give Vicario a bit of a run when Vic comes back?
He's got 3 clean sheets.
3, huh? Okay.
I'm not convinced. I think he's got some growing up to do and some experience to gain. Sure, he's going to be good, but I don't think he's at Vicario's level yet. I'm not even certain that he's at Brandon Austin's level yet.
Ooh, harsh.
Well,
sometimes just throws in just the most beastly.
That is beastly, but when you see the 2 goals that we let in against Arsenal, when you see the 2 goals against Leicester, I think in all 4 of those goals, I expected better from Klaus. So
Klaus? Kinski?
Klaus.
So I'm not convinced yet, but he's only 21. He's come off. I think he'd just come off of the season. You know, it was the break in the season in Czech Republic, wasn't it, when we signed him?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he's rubbish. I'm just saying that at this stage, I don't see him as all that good, and I can't wait for Vicario to come back.
Well, I mean, goalkeepers notoriously come good, mid
Yeah,
20s into their
yeah.
late 20s.
Yeah.
It's a commanding position, one that you really have to be. And look, Vicario was the boss back there. Like he was loud, and I don't hear that from Kinski just yet. And I think that, Romero and Van de Ven in front of them. I mean, okay, we lost some games, with that trio, but ultimately we all feel a lot better when those guys are there. Um, you know. Sadly, we might have seen the last of that, but in
But
any case,
sometimes when a player's out for a while, it's not a goalkeeper thing, but do you ever remember when Kyle Walker got injured when he hadn't been with us for very long, and he had a sort of a bit of a habit of losing concentration and not defending very well, and he got an injury. He was out for 3 or 4 months, and he said he spent those 3 months studying defending, and he came back a much better player. And he really was a much better player. That's when he became the Kyle Walker that we sold for whatever it was, 50 million.
Hmm.
So I hope that Vicario has been using this time to think about the way he manages his penalty area, and especially the 6 yard box when we get in corners and things like that, because and that's his kryptonite, isn't it?
Now, Kinski seems to be better at
Yeah, he
managing.
is. Well,
does.
He seems to be better at managing that 6 yard box. But anyway,
He's a fantastic puncher, Kinski. He punches real nice, real good. I mean, it's not easy punching, and I'm a massive non-fan of it, But when he punches, he's great.
it stays punched.
It stays punched, right? Exactly.
It stays punched. Okay. From my point of view, I think Kinski's a good player. I think Kinski's talents lie with the ball at his feet. I'm pretty sure I said this when he signed. He's very, very good with the ball at his feet. He's confident. He's got the skills and the technique to do what he wants to do with the ball. But he's not the cleanest handler of a ball. I think that's been shown since he joined. Sometimes he does make little misjudgments, as we saw against, Arsenal, certainly. He misjudged the ball. He misjudged the ball against Leicester as well, I think. But right now he's a worthy number one simply because Vicario isn't fit. When Vicario is fit, it's going to be a case of weighing up. Do you want the player that's really, really good with their hands and is nice and clean, or do you want the guy who's really good with his feet but not quite so good with his hands? That's what it's going to come down to.
My gut feeling is that Kinski is on the verge of being better than Vicario. I think Vicario is a fantastic shot stopper, but Kinski is good with his feet, and he actually comes out and tries to command his box and punch the ball, as you just mentioned, which Vicario just doesn't do. I think Kinski has got more potential than Vicario, full stop.
Well, hopefully Vicario's borrowed Carl Walker's library card and got some books out during the time he's been injured, and we'll see if he comes back a better player.
Austin, I think I see what you mean. I think when Kinski will be Vicario's age, I think he'll probably be better than Vicario. But at 21 and at the moment, there's too many mistakes in him for this level. Too many.
Yeah, I think we're well taken care of at goalkeeper. I mean, two very shrewd bits of business. I think I'm not quite sure what the whole auxiliary goalkeeper situation is. I mean, it must be like an astronaut who studies forever to go to space, but never actually goes to space. What a horrible way to spend your life. I mean, good for Brandon Austin that he's getting a couple of games in here and there, and I think he's doing pretty well. But he said it doesn't fill me with confidence, and I think I just get a lot more. I feel like because Vicario's in that leadership group at Spurs, I think that I just enjoy the fact we have a loud goalkeeper, given the fact we had Hugo for, 10 years back there, who was relatively quiet. I like the idea that we're, if I was a defender, that I had got someone up my ass the whole time. So Vicario likes a bit of that.
Okay, and what do we think is going to happen with the change around in the Europa League squad? Because currently we've got 4 goalkeepers registered. So we've got Forster, Vicario, Whiteman, and Austin. 2 of those are in there simply because they're homegrown at club. I think Austin has shown that he actually has something to offer, and I wouldn't be upset about seeing him later on. But a lot of people are talking about bringing in Kinski and dropping someone like Timo Werner or Odebert. Any thoughts?
Or even dropping Dragic actually, if he's going to be out for the rest of the season or most of the season, we could drop him. Well, we're going to have to drop somebody because if this Danso, that's one new guy. If this guy Tell comes in, that's two. So we've got to drop two of those three you just mentioned, Stu, and maybe three.
In which case, that means we need to drop two non-homegrown players.
Yeah, so like
because it can't be anyone that's homegrown or homegrown at club.
Yeah. So Timo and Dragic, and maybe, right? Yeah, that's two right there, and maybe Odebert, depending on how his health is.
I can't see us dropping Werner.
That means you're keeping. That means you're keeping Forster in the squad. So we're going to maintain at least 4 goalkeepers in there.
Spencer's coming in over Forster.
Okay. So that's your third, because you only get 3 changes.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Didn't think of that.
Yeah, it's a bit of an issue, isn't it?
I'm glad that's not my job.
I'm glad it's not my job. This is one of the things I was talking about before. I think one of the big problems is we've just not had forward thinking at the club. We've had so much turnaround in terms of managers and players coming in and going out, that they've just stopped thinking, oh, what are we going to do when we qualify for Europe? Because suddenly we're left with 2 homegrown players at club, and they're both goalkeepers, and neither of them are first choice. And that's just not really good long-term thinking. Obviously, next year, Alfie Devine's going to be back, and I think Alfie Devine may have aged out. It's weird to think that Alfie Devine's 21 or 22 now. That's just bizarre. I mean... It can't be right.
Yeah.
It seems a long time
they're
since
growing.
Scored.
Yeah, against Maine, was it? Marine, yeah.
Marine.
Yeah. Good old Marine.
Oh, yeah.
And Dane Scarlett's played in that match as well, didn't he? So,
Yes,
which
he did.
leads us in nicely to Elfsborg. Let's go. Let's talk about Elfsborg.
Incidentally, just before we
thoughts
go
on
any
that
further,
game?
it looks like Axel Disasi is going to Villa.
Yeah, I was just
announced
looking at that. He's going to Villa. 5 million loan fee. £5 million loan fee. There are a few other moves as well. Gavin Bazunu is going abroad.
Who's going to Villa?
Lloyd Kelly's going to Juventus. Iheanacho is going to Middlesbrough, who sold Latalaf out to America recently. Gavin Bazunu is going to Standard Liège, by the sound of it.
I'm sorry, who's going to
do you
Villa?
remember? Sorry, who's going to Villa?
Disasi.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Disasi and Rashford.
And
Rashford, wow.
And looks like there's someone else as well, but we'll get back to that, I'm sure. Man City are chasing Porto's Nico Gonzalez. Spurs have agreed to sign Matis Tel from Bayern. So there's stuff going on. There is stuff going on. Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Let's talk Elfsborg. In terms of the game, they weren't anything to write home about, but we did a professional job and looked good doing it. And it was really nice to see 3 academy boys getting debut goals. And I think it's the first time since 2009 3 players have got their first goals for the club in the same game.
And what good goals they were as well.
yes,
they were good goals. Yeah. Which one did you enjoy the most out of those 3? Which one did you enjoy the most? I have to say, I thought Ajayi's was very nice.
I thought his 1-2 with Scarlett was absolutely superb. Scarlett cushioned the ball back into his path brilliantly, and he finished it not perfectly, but very nicely. But I actually enjoyed Scarlett's goal because Scarlett really attacked the ball. He flung himself and got a good connection with his head. I liked that because it just showed commitment.
Yeah. The second one for me was the most positive. I think it was the most positive move in the whole match by any Spurs player, and it sort of showed the rest of the team up a little bit. I mean, the endeavor. It's just something about the kids, you know. They're fearless and they don't think too much about, you know, the possibility of failure. They just really go for stuff, and I think that's worthy. The one bit, yeah, bye mate. The one takeaway from the match for me
He's
was
off for a refill.
It was Kulusevski moving into 10 for the first time in I can't remember how long. You know, I think that who came on, I can't remember exactly what happened, but we Kulusevski started out, I believe, on the right. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah.
Moved inside in the second half, and we looked like a different team. I mean, you know, he needs that position. I think it's just been one of the biggest issues for us has been Johnson's sort of failure to lock down that place, and also, you know, the Maddison issue. But just our lack of frontline options have meant that he's had to go out right on the right, and I just feel like our whole team has suffered as a consequence. And it was great to see him there, albeit for like half an hour. But I thought we just played so much better when he was playing at 10. So yeah.
Yeah, we really struggled to
Ashley?
break them down because they were really very, very, very poor. I think they've been on a break for the last 3 months or something. Well, they're pretty rusty. They've only been playing Europa matches since
Since
November
November.
or something like that. Since November, yeah.
Yeah.
Which meant, like, on one side they were fresh, but on the other side they were not really match ready. I don't think so. It's a bit well, I'd say it's a bit disappointing we struggled to break them down so much, but it's not really a big surprise considering how knackered everybody is. And so it was quite good that players got 45 minutes rest. And I think that showed in the match against Brentford. And it was, like as everybody else said, it's just fantastic to see the youngsters come on and they were really great. Each of the goals had something that I loved. You know, Austin said, well, he's not here now, so I'll say that I'm making it up, and he didn't say it. Austin talked about the ways Scarlett got across his defender and got that header in. Ajay, the way he, you know, the touch and go. And then I thought Mikey Moore's was pretty good because he had quite a lot of work to do. You know, he got it in that central position. He says he took a bad first touch, but he shrugged off his player, made a good run, and then put it across the goalkeeper. And there were so many things that I liked about it. Apart from anything, the lads, when they were interviewed afterwards, they were really touching, really nice, really good lads.
Yeah.
They all gave props to the academy and the people that have been teaching them. I think Mikey Moore talked about it was Jermaine Defoe that taught him how to do that shot across the goalkeeper.
Yeah. Yes.
I thought that was fantastic, and that was my main takeaway from the match. I spent far too much time the next day watching interviews and replays and like that with those kids because they're lovely, lovely.
Did you guys see it when Mikey
Yeah.
Moore's goal when Jai's goal went in the back of the net? Did you see Daniel Levy close his checkbook
Checkbook.
and put it back in his pocket with a smile
I
on
didn't
his
see
face?
him do it, but I think we all felt it emotionally. I mean, at that point, we all knew what was
I'm
happening.
pretty sure it was on the cameras. I'm pretty sure. But I mean, it was
Ash,
great.
what
But
did you think
it
of the
does.
game?
Sorry, Ash.
Oh, good.
One thing, continuing on what Dave said, actually Scarlett on Mikey Moore's goal actually took the defenders out of the way. If you watch that goal back, he actually made a great move going across and allowed Mikey to come back again. And so he was involved in all three goals. So great on Scarlett. Now, just overall, I said this before the season. I said that, which is what sort of happened anyway. I said we should take a hit on the our league position and whatever, and play these kids. Bergvall, great, which you know we really didn't know how good they could be, and then these kids through here. Listen, you guys keep telling us like Stu, you guys because you watch say you know what this guy Mikey Moore, oh he's gonna have this Donnelly guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. I don't know. So I'm going, okay, there's some really great talent in our academy. Why do we have an academy? I've said this for years. If we're not actually going to play them, what happened to that guy Onama? What happened to Parrott? They just come in and they go out on loan and then they disappear. And I'm going, we saw in that little fraction in that game that there is talent there. And why not? I think Poch did it early on. He brought up some of the younger guys. Well, Harry, of course, and Winks. Delhi came
Mason.
in, but he was 19 years old. So I actually would love, I think he's been forced to do it, but I would love for them to just have bravery to say, okay, if we've got talent here, let's try it out, you know, and we'll take a hit on the season. We're not going to finish top 4 or top 5 or top 6. Let's take a hit on it. Let's win a cup, but let's take a hit on it and let these guys show if they've got what it takes to be in the Premier League. It gave me so much joy to see that. 3 academy guys come out. What at the end of the game? What do we have? We had 4 teenagers and a 20-year-old on the field. Fantastic.
Yeah, but
5
the thing is, though,
teenagers,
Ash,
I think.
Ash, you have to look at, you know, the ones that we didn't play or whatever. You said we should have been playing Onoma. What did he do after he left us? The thing is, I think we had a bit of a hole in the academy for a few years. We had that crop that came through with Harry Kane and Ryan Mason and people like that. That was a good crop. And then there was a big hole for a number of years. And I think at the moment, now the academy's showing some fruits that we invested in again. But I get the feeling there was a 4 or 5 year period where we didn't really have much coming through, to be honest, because I haven't seen anybody that's left us has gone on to become a world beater.
I'm talking about now. Let's see these guys.
Yeah.
I'm glad Scarlett is not going back out on loan. You know,
We can't.
Yeah, he was involved in all.
He won't
3
be now,
goals.
certainly.
He can't now.
Very quickly, in regards to development of our academy players, we have changed our policy in terms of how much we're willing to pay players as they're coming through. It used to be much stricter and much less, but now I think Paratici, one of the things he did when he was technical director or whatever his job was to basically lobby the board and say we need to be giving these young players more money and prioritizing the best ones coming through and also bringing the best talent to the club. And the people who he cited when he did that was obviously Mikey Moore, but also Callum Olasesi, and there was one more whose name currently escapes me and is extremely difficult to pronounce, so I probably shouldn't even bother to try. But he named 3 players and said, no, it's not George Abbott, who's doing extremely well at Notts County. But in terms of what happened to Onoma, he got transferred to Fulham as part of the Dembele deal. And frankly, the fact we got to enjoy Dembele makes it worth every single penny. So, Charlie, you were going to say something.
Up to the northwest now. He's not playing at a very high level at all.
No, I believe he went to West Ham. I think he went to Preston as well.
Yeah, he's up there.
Just dotting around. Yeah.
I mean, it's a ruthless system, really, because you really have to bide your time and you don't. Not everybody's going to ever have the blooding of a Bergvall and an Archie Gray that they've been able to come into a injury-ravaged squad and literally play backs up against the wall twice a week. You know, those guys that will never, you know, that kind of experience is just something that just does not come along all the time. And what a masterstroke for the Gray family to stick Archie Gray into a Tottenham team where he was going to play literally, 35, 40 games. He never would have got that at whatever other team was in for him. I can't remember what it was.
But
Brentford.
That's why they were
right. Hey, maybe he would have done though. So. But I mean, like in this level, I think, you know, Spurs are that jump up, but also Bergvall playing in, you know, Barcelona B team. It just never would have happened, and he's really getting to be messy. I see Bergvall being he's a messy player right now, and he's just an uncut diamond who will within a couple of seasons just be absolutely dominating that midfield. I hope we can hang on to him. But you know, these academy players have to come from somewhere. I mean, just by law of averages, at least 1.5, maybe 2 academy players have to sort of make the step up from the academy at some club every year, every club every year. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any footballers to play with. So, I think that, that's sort of the way I look at it. I have to look at someone like Dane Scarlett, who's pushing 20 and he hasn't really made an impact. And I think to myself, a bit like Will Lancashire, I just don't think he's going to cut. I just don't think he's going to cut it. The jury for me is out with Mikey Moore. I don't buy into what everyone's saying that he's the second coming. I think he's good, and I think he's got some physical development to go. But I've seen with Levy a propensity right now, maybe following on from what Paratici said, to actually bring in very, very young players like Odobert and Matthias Tell as well. I believe he's 19 years old. I mean, he looks like a great prospect, but he's also young. That also keeps the wage bill down, but also it's a young man's game. Point.
Oh, either I've lost everybody, or can somebody else speak? David, you there?
3 seasons ago, we had one of the oldest teams.
I can't hear anybody at the moment. This is good. So, Dave, did you want to take over?
Can you hear me?
I'll let you know when my hearing decides to come back in.
Yeah. So, who hates Stu? Anyone want to say something really horrible?
Austin, I've still got... I've got subtitles on here. I can see exactly what you're saying. But that's okay. I've come back now. It's all fine. My earbuds have decided they want to work just as I'm being called something particular.
It was Charlie. Okay. It was Charlie.
It was Charlie, was it? Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
No, it was me that called you a deaf cunt.
All right, fair enough.
Oh boy!
So that's us demonetized for this video. Thank you very much. No, we weren't monetized anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay. So yeah, I think there are moves to continue to improve the academy and bring more young players in. Apparently, Archie Gray has a younger brother who plays up front, Harry Gray, and he's available as well. Maybe we'll go for him. Hopefully. He's also supposed to be very good, so that would be nice. But yeah, we've got some very good young players coming through, but one of the worst things we can do is rush them. I think Lancashire has the opportunity, but I said very early on, I said before the Galatasaray game, I thought it was too early for him. I think that was proven to be right when he came in because he looked really raw. His movement was not great. But he's got an insatiable desire to score goals. I mean, that boy just loves... It's really similar to Kane in that way. Kane just loved to score goals, and even when he missed, he didn't let it get to him. He, head came up and he tried again. If we could somehow marry Lancashire's willingness to score goals with Dane Scarlett's all-round game, because he's got great movement, good touch, good awareness of everything going on around him. He just doesn't seem to have that hunger to score goals the same way that Will Lancashire does. If we could get those two together and just trade off some little bits and pieces, we can end up with 2 excellent players.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, Elon Musk.
Will Lancashire's 19 years old. It's at least another year before we can be expecting sort of proper big boy striker stuff from him. And I think he's got the right attitude. He can do it at the lower level. I think he really... Has he gone out on loan? I can't remember.
He's gone out on loan to West Brom. Yeah.
So I think that'll do him the world of good, as long as he gets games. And I think he'll come back a better player. I'm definitely not writing him off, but I'm not saying he's the next Kane either. But he looks very promising.
I can guarantee he's not the next Kane. There is no chance he's the next Kane, because Kane is singular. I feel he was such a fantastic player. If we see another player like Kane in the next 10 years, it would be amazing. So yeah, he's not going to be the next Kane. But
can I just say, Stu, I just wish that as a club policy, we would be a little bit more ruthless with the handling of that expectation, in the sense, like, what's the likely outcome with Lancashire? What's likely? Likely is he won't cut it. So let's make sure he's not occupying a squad space that potentially a quality backup striker could could or a third striker could occupy.
We've made a
Yeah, but he
signing, by the
hasn't.
way,
That's the
guys.
thing.
Oh,
Ha-
go on.
Has something been confirmed?
Dan Kilpatrick has just posted that Spurs have agreed a deal to sign young Liverpool centre-half Luca Fernell-Gill, 18. He's set to boost numbers in the academy and is likely to be announced
Okay.
with Daniel Batty, also 18, from Manchester City tonight. They're not considered first-team options at this stage. Right, sorry about that.
No, thank you. So that's another Daniel Batty style signing, which again continues what I was saying before. They're looking to improve our academy and bring in what they consider to be players that will make things better overall. Apparently, Daniel Batty's a very good creative midfielder. Let's hope so, because we've got the hard workers. We've got some good technical players. I don't think we've got anybody who's blessed creatively. So that would be nice.
No one's mentioned.
No, one of the things, in terms of bringing through players, one of the things I really liked, well, not liked, but one of the things I appreciated about Manchester United in the Ferguson years was he always insisted that there was a Manchester United produced player in the squad, at least one. And I think we need to be doing the same thing. Even if they're not going to be on the bench, there needs to be one. Well, it was Luke Chadwick for a while.
I know.
Luke Chad. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, more David Beckham or Ryan. Well, maybe not Ryan Giggs. We don't need that. But yeah. Ah, dearie me. So okay, that's the 2 football matches out the way. Unless anybody's got something else they want to say. Ashley, you've been sat there quietly.
No, we can look ahead to Liverpool and what we might.
I want to look at our signings. I don't want to look ahead at Liverpool yet. I want to talk signings.
Oh no, well that ties in with our signings. Apparently, those signings can't be playing in the Liverpool game. Danso and if Fistel comes in, they would have to have played the first leg, which they didn't. So, speaking of signings, they can't play against Liverpool.
I
Just
don't
good for the final
know.
break.
There was a rule change recently, and I think there is a chance that he can play. Kevin Danso will be able to play for Tottenham against Liverpool if his work permit is approved by then. That'll be exactly the same for Matistel. So there is no longer the rule that if you weren't registered for the first game, you cannot play in the second. So that would be nice.
So he'd be good throwing. Is he good enough to be thrown right in? I don't know. I haven't got any guidance.
I'll tell you what. I mean, as some of you know, I live in France. I have seen Lens play. I have seen games he has played in. I can't ever remember him doing anything particular in any of those matches, which for a central defender is probably a really good thing. He's never stood out as being absolutely awful, but I can't ever remember a specific phase of play that he was involved in. So maybe it's just me. Poor memory, I don't know.
And no 30-yarders either then, I guess.
No,
going
no
back to
30
the
yards.
academy situation very briefly, Marcus Edwards has today signed for Burnley for about 8
He's on
million.
loan, isn't he? He's gone there on
He's
loan.
on loan with an option to buy for 8 million.
Mm.
Yeah, and we
Yeah,
get
there was another guy
30% of that
in
if
the
he goes there.
There was another
There
guy.
you
There's one from the academy, flattered to deceive, and then disappeared, and then, played well against us, and then now he's gone to Burnley.
I think Poch
He
may have
was
ruined him with his Messi comment.
Yeah, he was a brilliant, brilliant young player. He was superb. He was, when the ball came to him, the game changed. Very similar in ways to Mikey Moore. A little bit more dynamic, a little bit more explosive. But when he got the ball, things just changed in terms of the game. His problem was he was so small. He needed to go away and bulk up somewhere, and he wasn't going to get the chance to do that at Tottenham. And he's done that, just getting used to playing men's football. He's done that at Sporting. He went to Pacos Ferreira, I think, first of all, and then ended up transferring to Sporting. So he's had the opportunity, but I don't think he's done everything he could have with his career because he was so good.
No, he's still only 26.
Yeah.
So he's just moving into his prime in some respects. So, we're not out of the woods yet. He might come good. If we're worried about looking stupid for letting a big prospect go, he could come good, but I don't think he's got the right mentality is the main problem.
there was a lot of talk about his home life being really difficult, and he didn't really have role models to look up to when he was younger. So if that's true, that might explain as to why he failed to buckle down in some cases. I find it really difficult to give a lot of credence to discussions or rumours about a player's issues in terms of failing to buckle down or failing to toe the line or failing to progress the way that they should have, simply because we read so much crap in the press. It's unless it's coming from a trusted source, I give it maybe a 3% chance of being correct. I don't know. But we've had lots of good players come through. I mean, Noni Madueke, who's playing for Chelsea now, was at Spurs. So they come in, they go. Some of them stick around, and hopefully we see the best of them. Noni Madueke was again one of the reasons that we decided to increase our money spent and the money that we give to the youngsters, because he wanted more. He wanted more money, and he went to PSV to get it. So because of that, Paratici was able to say, right, we need to pay the youngsters some more money.
He got more money at PSV than us.
He got more money at PSV than us, and then on the back of his work there, yeah. But they also gave him football. He played first team football.
Yeah,
and then because of what he managed there, he managed to get a nice move to Chelsea, and they're paying him well. Probably too well, because they pay over the top for everybody. By the way, Chelsea
he's there for life. They own him for life.
Yeah, on what, the 8-year deal, whatever it is he signed up.
Yeah,
that's just crazy. Yeah, Chelsea are losing. Bowen slots West Ham in front.
Great. Can I just bring up the centre back issue again that I sort of was talking about earlier, just touching on the transfer thing. I mean, Spurs are looking for 2 centre backs. They're going to get, they've obviously got Danso in. You got Vuskovic coming in the summer, and obviously Dragusin will come back in the summer as well. So and then we will have Van de Ven, Romero, and potentially one other one. That's six first choice centre backs, pretty much. And I've said before in the past few weeks here, a spiritually vacant Christian Romero from the club. He's not on the bench with the boys. The whatever Wu-Tang Clan on the bench. So I haven't felt him at the club for a while. This injury is just an interesting one. It's a thigh. I get it. It's a tough. It seems to me that if you're going to start throwing 70 million at Mark Gahey, the writing seems to be on the wall. Unless that was a sort of, and it's just really annoying how that happens 5 minutes before the end of the window. Mark Gahey, bid 70 million. I'm just not sure he's worth that much, but because he's English, I guess. I'd rather they spend that money on something up front. That's just me. What are your boys' thoughts on what the actual situation is going on back at the backstage and all this? Like, do you feel that Romero is still
Charlie, I hadn't noticed that Romero hadn't been attending the matches with the other injured players. You're right, but I think now you mention it, you're right. That's really weird.
I think he's gone come the summer.
There is a slight mitigating circumstance. Of all of the players who've been out injured, he's the only one that's got a new baby. His wife gave birth recently, and he's got a new baby at home.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's a very good chance that he's decided, instead of going and sitting on the side of a match, he will actually be at home with his newborn child. And I wouldn't blame him.
He's there every other day with that newborn child. He's a senior member of Spurs. I do know what you're saying there, dude. But at the same time, where's our last thing I heard from Romero was that he was pissed off with Levy, or he's pissed off with the hierarchy, which I thought was a bold move. It seems to me like, and obviously what happened last year with Real Madrid coming in and asking what the price for Romero was, and Levy slapping 150 million on him. That for Levy is like, that is money in the bank. you know, and it's just a matter of when to release the player and how to drive the price up and what kind of deals to get, you know, in the interim, what kind of Sergei Regulons you can get coming the other way. My fear right now is that money is in the bank, because I just don't believe that Mark Gahey comes in to make it 6 players, 6 centre backs.
Especially because Gabe apparently was a target since the beginning of the transfer window. It's like the rumours say, you know, that this isn't a last-minute Hail Mary request. It's something we've been working on all window.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. Very interesting. 70 million for Gay, eh? It's a lot of money to
It's
break
a lot,
your
isn't it?
Bloody
to
good
break
player,
your transfer. You know, that would be our record, right?
How much
On the
did
defender.
How much did
Solanke was 65, wasn't he? He's current transfer record.
Van Dijk go for? What was his?
That was
price?
70, I think, wasn't it?
Could have been 80. Yeah. And that
Virgil van
turned out-
Dijk, he was 80, I think.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that turned out
Yeah.
really well. He changed that whole Liverpool, changed Klopp's whole team. So yeah,
that would have been
Mm.
a statement signing, Mark Gay.
yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't deny that. Whether or not I disagree with certain aspects of his choices, but that's just me. He's a very, very, very good player. I mean, he makes England look better whenever he comes in. You know, his defence just improves whenever he plays, whether it's Crystal Palace, whether it's England. I know Newcastle were chasing him during the summer and they chucked money at it and they couldn't persuade Crystal Palace to sell. And now apparently we've gone in even stronger and they still don't want to sell. To be fair, if you've got a player who can probably get 85 million on the open market, why not? Certainly when there are Newcastles or Manchester Cities out there with the money to do so.
Yeah, I mean, he's got one year left on his contract. It's getting kind of crazy. I mean, that's really sort of dicing with
I think the
you
big
know.
problem with Palace was that they didn't think they were going to get somebody in to replace him.
Yeah, they've
Well,
only got
if this was going
4
on,
fit central defenders, so
Mm.
which, as we know, is a problem.
we have
Alfie
0.
Dorrington the other way.
Yeah, we have
That's 4
zero.
more than we've got.
Oh,
That's
Well,
true.
Dorrington's on loan at Aberdeen,
I
so
know.
he can't go there.
I
And
was
he's played
kidding.
for us, so even if he
True.
came back, he couldn't go there either. Ashley Phillips, maybe? Can we bring Ashley Phillips back and send him out there? Who knows?
I feel like we've had this
Um,
conversation before.
We have talked about this. So there's some news coming out. Austin's just put this in the chat. According to reports in France, Tottenham Hotspur have made a £20 million bid for Burnley defender Maxime Estev, who is 22 years old, following the news that Radu Dragusin has suffered an ACL injury. Pretty sure I called ACL injury as soon as that happened. So Maxime Estev, I know the name. I cannot remember the player. Very much like Odobert, I knew the name. I could not remember anything about the player when we signed him.
Man.
So obviously Odobert will